Join me in making the Stay Grounded Bracelet. This bracelet is made with 5 strands of gemstones mined out of the ground, and it's a great reminder for us to stay grounded and serene in any circumstance. Check out the material list below down in the description, and let's get started. I'm going to build this bracelet one strand at a time, connecting a strand to the large side of my clasp and to the smaller side here at the same time. So I'm going to work on each strand separately before I move on to the next. So to begin my first strand, I'm going to pick up whatever bead I want to be my first color. I have this colorway here where I am doing a color blocking, where I'm striping it in groups of 3. You can of course change your pattern, but I love this like thick color banding, so I'm gonna stick with that for the one I do here in the tutorial. So the first one that we pick up, the first color, is going to be what's going to sit right next to our clasp here. So I'm using this antique brass clasp. So I think it might be nice to have the red next to it. I'm going to pick up one of my red beads, one of my 4mm gemstone rounds. And you're going to want to take the two pieces of the clasp apart. So just give that a little push. It's a push clasp, so you're going to push that little piece in there and pull that out. So go ahead and put that one bead on and leave yourself a little bit of a tail thread and hold that tail thread. I don't have a stop bead on, so I'm going to want to just hold on to that thread for right now. Pass through the first loop in your clasp and then go back through that gemstone bead. From here now, I'm just going to make a little knot, just a quick little overhand knot, and that should hold it in place so that I can continue doing the rest of my stringing. I'm going to follow the same pattern as I followed on the sample. So I have 2 more of my red beads here. And then I'm going to do the color blocking, again, just picking up 3 of each color. So there's the first repeat of my pattern. And I'm just going to take this and do this over again. So we'll start over again here with the red, go to the Amazonite, and then move on to my snowflake jasper. I'm going to go ahead and finish stringing this side, or this length of my first piece here. So I'm going to go ahead and finish stringing this, and then I'll show you what to do at the other end with the other side of the clasp. After stringing all of your 4mm beads onto your thread, and you have the length that you need for that length of your bracelet, you're going to now attach to the other part or the other piece of your clasp. So I've actually just unattached these. You saw at the first clip, I pinched this and pulled it out. But I want to make sure that when I'm attaching on this end, I'm attaching it correctly so that I don't have anything twisting when I finally clasp my clasp together. Easy way to do this is just to take a look at this clasp here, look at the large oval piece, and you just want to make sure that you have the flat backside of your oval clasp facing down, and the part here, the top where you'd put your oval, make sure that that's facing up. And that's going to look really nice when I get that all glued in there. And you want to do the same for this pinch part of your clasp. You want to make sure that the flat side, the bottom side or flat side, is facing down, facing your mat, so that the pinch part here that I would pinch onto, I want that to be facing up. And just go ahead and align this so that you've got them opposite sides here. And we have all of our rings on this side and we have all of our rings on this side here. So rings are facing towards the project. And now we're ready to attach. So again, here I'm at the very bottom ring here. This is where I started attaching on the oval part of my clasp. So I'm going to attach to the bottom ring or loop of my clasp on this side. And I'm just going to go through that loop. And back through my beads. I'm going to go past and pass through all my beads one more time. I like to reinforce this for a number of reasons. Reinforcing your thread is always a good idea, as long as you have beads that will accommodate that. Sometimes your holes in your clasp or your beads just are too small, but these gemstones have holes that are big enough that it will definitely allow me to take my thread through once or twice more. Again, just taking my beads, or taking my thread, passed through my beads again, and I'm going to go all the way through here until I come to where I made my first knot. And just make sure you don't have any slack. You can pull all of this tight and give the thread that you're using, not your tail thread, but give the thread that you're currently working with, you can give that a little bit of a pull and just make sure that everything is nice and tight. So now the thread that I am working with that's attached to my needle and the thread where I originally made my first knot are coming out towards each other. So they're coming out in that space between the two beads. And I'm just going to do another simple little knot here and pull that all together. You want to do left over right and then right over left. Simple little square knot and pull tight and make that knot small. And then we're going to use, you can use scissors and you can use a dab of glue if you'd like, although I prefer something like a thread burner. And just go ahead and burn off that thread. So here's the first strand, and I'm just going to repeat these same steps on my my second, third, fourth, and fifth strand, just making sure to align my clasp so that I'm using the second, I'm attaching to the second loop here as well as the second loop here. Third and third. You just want to make sure that you keep the strands laying one on top of each other and you don't get them crossed. So I'm going to add a few more strands here and show you what my piece looks like then. I've now added all 5 strands of my gemstones, and I've added them all in exactly the same way, starting at one side here, tying a knot, putting all my beads on, and then coming right back through and tying my 2 ends together. So here, where my 2 ends are on my last strand, I'm just going to come in here with my thread burner and burn off this last little knot. And just be careful to not burn through any of the thread that you want to keep that's actually running through all your beads. So the last thing here for me to do is add my long oval to my clasp. I chose this pretty garnet color. This is actually called Cyan. So cyan is the actual color name for this particular color. And all we're going to have to do is take a little dab of glue. I'm going to use the E6000, but you can add or you can use a number of different glues as long as it's going to be a glue that works well to adhere to metal and to something like a glass, crystal, or some sort of glass like that. And on the back here, you've got this coating, so you're not going to see any of the inside here of our clasp and our glue when we put this in. So just drop this in and position it. You want to center it and give it a good little push down. And just let that dry. And then once you let it dry, you can always, one thing that I really like about something like an E6000 is that once it dries, if you have any little extra that's running over the edges, you can easily just rub that off and it'll crumble right off. So there you have it. If you enjoyed this video, please comment below and let us know your thoughts. You can also subscribe to our channel to be notified as soon as we have more beading tutorials out that you will enjoy probably just as much as you enjoyed this one.